Tundra. Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left base, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right. Let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see. What we got? A tricycle. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger. Down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here. You cleared land on 9 all the way to the white dot. Go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway, and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern, or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here. So just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there on about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello. Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
It's great. I have to say, it's great to be back despite that level of enthusiasm there. Well done. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. A slightly different little live stream for you tonight. As you can see, there are 4 people on your screen, and we'll come back to that in a second. So what we've got, we're going to have a real quick chat with Chris shortly, and then we're going to move on to the news. After the news, we're going to have a recording of Simon Keeling getting cold in a dressing gown, and then we'll go on to Fantasy Hangar and all of the rest of the stuff. So anyway, without further ado, let's talk to Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
Pretty good, Ian. Thanks. Great to be on here as well. Interested to see what this live streaming stuff's all about from the other side of the fence.
You're due a life of fame and fortune from here. So, Chris, if everyone's wondering who Chris is, Chris won the Air Ability auction. There was an auction at the Air Ability Ball I think it was November, December time. I can't remember. And one of the prizes was to appear on the Fly live stream, and Chris won that. And here he is. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about your flying. I believe you fly a Condor. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I got a Rollison Condor. It's based at Breeton at the Real Aeroplane Club there. I bought that back end of 2018, and then in 2019 used it to revalidate my PPL. Hadn't flown for 30 odd years.
Wow.
So thought, what shall I get? Did a bit of research and discovered that actually buying a permit aircraft and working through the LAA and buying something like a Condor wasn't actually the most expensive thing to go and do in the world, and thought better get on with it and get back flying. Otherwise I'll end up too old to do it.
None of us are ever too old to do it. Are you involved in the strut down at Breeton?
Yeah, well, I'm involved in the Vale of York LAA strut, that covers Breeton and the other airfields around York and Yorkshire. Yeah, I act as the strut coordinator.
Oh, brilliant! Well, we've done
all the admin.
We did a bit of flying down there. Was it last year or the year before with Ed? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Year before. Yeah. It's a great place to fly. Need to get back up there, really. Chris, I happen to know because I chatted to him before. Has got a whole bunch of fingers in various aviation pies, so he may or may not tell us about some of that later on during the whole thing. Who knows? But anyway, so when's the last time you flew, Chris?
I guess it's nearly 2 months ago now. It was a trip out to a fly-in at Netherthorpe. We did a trip down and back, and then a few bits of work and bits and bobs got in the way, and then the dreaded weather and lockdown has caught me. So it's a while.
Yeah,
well, I guess we're all in the same boat now. There's none of us sitting here gloating, going, "Oh, I'm in tier 2 and I've just been flying and it's been fantastic."
Yeah.
So there you go. Fantastic. Well, that's great. And welcome to the show, as it were, or welcome to the live stream. Sounds a bit funny saying welcome to the show, doesn't it?
Does,
feel free to join in, comment, say stuff along the way, and just become part of the team for the next half hour.
I'm looking forward to being. The thing that interested me was seeing quite what the sort of Clarkson, May and Hammond of the GA Aviation world in the UK were up to, really.
Crikey, who's who?
Yeah, I'm sure you can work it out, Dave.
Right. It's fairly obvious who Clarkson is.
It might be fairly obvious who Hammond might be as well, Ed.
I was worried you'd say that.
So you've already experienced the super slick preparation and organisation that goes into this half-an-hour live stream. I see.
I have. It's excellent. Yeah.
Talking of things prepared, Dave White asks, boring question, who's the chap at 19 seconds in the countdown? And I think he's referring to Christian Dries of Diamond, isn't he? The guy who fills in his lanyard and looks slightly scruffy at the camera. It was from Aero 3 years ago now. But there we go, Dave. That will stop you being befuddled.
Christian Dries sold out to a Chinese company, sold out Diamond to a Chinese company. But before that, he was like one of those completely and utterly type A kind of characters who just dominate the whole factory. He kind of walked around and you kind of expected to see. There's a cafe on site called the Katana Cafe. It's well worth it. It's open to the public, but it's used also by everyone from Diamond. And Christian owned the Katana Cafe and set it up in the way he wanted to set up. And his parents farm organic beef. So the steak in the Katana Cafe is all organic steak and he'd have to go and cook it. And the wine, because he also owns a vineyard in Pelee Island in Canada. So the wine comes from his vineyard there, or it used to at least. But he kind of controlled the whole thing. It was like a Bond villain. I kind of expected to see him stroking a cat. He's only about this tall. It's quite short, kind of chain smokes. If you sat next to him in his restaurant, you kind of had to put up with him chain smoking for hours and hours and drinking as well. It was quite an entertaining type thing. But he was had a very strong personality, should we say. You basically generally said yes to Christian, or people who worked for him generally said yes to Christian. But he's gone.
He was always exciting at an aero press conference, because it's you could just sense all the people around him were like, what's he going to say?
So next year we're going to do the tilt rotor electric. I think I make it on avionics. And you look back, and all of the diamond people would be going, "Oh, what are we going to do?" So I think it was him, but if it was someone else, we'll probably tell you a story about them as well. Anyway, without further ado, I think we need to hand over to our head of pronunciation, who's going to run us through the news. Dave?
Right, thanks. Happy New Year to you as well. So we're going to kick off. Obviously, the big story of the week is lockdown. It came in on Tuesday and was law by Wednesday. And basically, we can't do anything. Not allowed to fly. We are allowed to do engine maintenance flights under certain conditions, as we were before. There's no mention of the currency flights, which is a change from the last lockdown. Professional flight training is allowed to go ahead, but it has to be professional flight training. There's an odd bit of wording in this statement about that. And I think that, reading between the lines, that's to stop people flying, claiming it was professional flight training when really they're out for a bit of a jolly.
I did actually see an email that the DFT had sent to Martin Robinson at AOPA, and Martin shared it with me, saying that if you were doing the PPL as a module, as the first module of your modular professional training, if it was genuinely the first module and you were genuinely going into professional training, then that would be acceptable. Obviously, you would need to find a school that was still running. But I think they're worried about, does anyone remember the MVQ system that used to be around? We used to get like VAT off effectively. And then everyone did it, even though that was supposed to be professional. And so the abuse of that was one of the things that led to it being stopped. So I think effectively it's going to be hard to do a PPL or PPL training at the moment. Maybe part of one of those seamless modular courses or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. On the lockdown front and the engine health thing, I've seen a couple of airfields actually go through the specifics of who has engine health. So things like Lycoming and Continental have a specific thing, whereas Rotax don't seem to. And some airfields have gone, well, actually, only Lycoming. If you've got a Lycoming or Continental, those guys can do your hour per 30 days. If you've got a Rotax, we don't think you've got a reason to fly. Therefore, you're grounded. So
and there are other airfields out there who are just shut.
That's it.
Literally, completely. Like where my Condor's living is access is not allowed.
Yeah. And there are others that are maybe open but waterlogged as well at the moment.
Yeah. So moving on, Brexit. So when we went into when we left the EASA at the end of 31st of December and 1st of January, we were on our own with the UKCA looking after us. There are lots of questions, and we've got a lot of the questions, and we've got a lot of answers in the last issue of Flyer. But there's a few things starting to come out. I suppose the big one is that the UK is going to be a member of EGNOS for a while. It's going to participate in EGNOS. This is the European Galileo GPS system, and that means that we will be able to have the LPV approaches. Now, again, Ian, you know a bit more about this than most of us.
So, basically, putting the long story to one side, we've got access to it until June the 25th, I think, and there's a negotiation that will take place between now and June the 25th. If we can come to some agreement and get an EWA, a working agreement, then we can use EGNOS for safety of life stuff, which is basically LPV approaches after June 25th. So we just need to come to that agreement. I mean, there are non-EU and non-EASA countries which have access to EGNOS and have EWA. So it should really just be a question of money. Can we negotiate access and can we pay for it? yes, we'll have the LPV. If we can't, we won't. But I'm pretty confident that we'll negotiate something. You would imagine.
Yeah, we'd hope so.
So now the kind of a lot of the political heat's been taken out of the situation. Hopefully, the behind the scenes, the people will just be pragmatic and get it done.
Yeah.
So,
On that question of Brexit and initiatives, if you heard the name David Hoy, when I was doing my PPL, I had loads of tapes of his in the car, teaching me how to do various pronounce things in in radio telephony language. And anyway, David Hoy is vice chairman of the Independent Flight Instructors and Examiners Association. And anyway, he's written a piece, which is He's told us about some things he's thinking of to do with Brexit and how the CAA and the Department for Transport really need to get engaged with EASA and the EU to help the professional flight training industry in the UK. It's on our sister website, pilotcareersnews.com, so you can read about it there. He's got some good stuff to say, actually. Moving on to a less contentious subject, Sandy Airfield. Now, Sandy Airfield is near Biggleswade. Here it is. It's a grass airfield. It's very small. It's a microlite-only field, really. But they've just done a really nice little thing, and they've planted a load of daffodils alongside the edges of the grass runways, which when spring comes and the grass starts growing, will help mark out where the runways are. It's all part of an appeal called the Marie Curie Great Daffodil Appeal. Marie Curie is a charity which looks after people with terminal illnesses. And so it's a good cause, nice thing to do. And I happen to know Sandy because it's where I did my first solo in a Flexwing microlite in about 1991, I think, two. It's very short, very, very short. And as you approach from the south, you have to go over some trees. So it's really is a microlite only place. Don't try it. Anything bigger. Okay. So anybody got to say on that?
I guess there must be a link to if you want to join in the support of that. There must be a link in the news story on flyer.co.uk. There
is, and you can donate to their appeal, even if you don't fancy making a landing there. So it's a good, nice thing to do.
Good cause.
Anyway. Yeah.
I'm sure that I looked at it, and I'm sure they got a runway that's 500 meters somewhere in there.
That's plenty long enough. That's nearly as long as the ones at Netherthorpe, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it is actually. I think it might be longer than one of the ones at Netherthorpe.
Yeah.
Right.
It does say microlite strip. I'll give you that. But let me
I don't think I'd take a Condor anywhere near it. Even if it was 500 meters, really, unless there's a bit of a gale blowing.
Approach information.
I must admit, when I was flying out of there in the microlite school, there was another runway which I don't think is in that picture. Which, if you were coming into land from the east, landing into a west wind, you flew over to avoid you flying over the nearby village of Sandy. They painted arrows in the field below, so that people learning microlites had no excuse where to go. So you followed these arrows on the way into Sandy.
Okay. Keir Williams has put 365 meters. Oh, and 550 meters in the comments. So I'm guessing that's the length of the runways at Sandy. So that's 550 meters is plenty long.
Not bad. Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I just put a picture up from Skydemon, and it's 365 by 18 and 550 by 18. So loads and loads of room. You probably get a 747 in there from Kemble, I should imagine.
Just talking of Kemble.
Before we do, just one interesting fact about Sandy. Well, not about Sandy, but Dave, you live down that way. Are you aware of a holiday village in the New Forest that people shouldn't confuse with this?
No.
I thought it was a joke, but there is actually a holiday village in the New Forest called Sandy Balls, believe it or not.
Wow.
You learn something every day, don't you?
You do it every day, all day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only other thing I've got in my head about Sandy isn't that where the RSPB used to be headquartered?
I think you're right. Yeah,
I've got a vague recollection from school of the RSPB and Sandy Beds.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's right next to Old Warden.
let's move on. We're 15 minutes in already.
Hurry up.
So talking about 747s and Kemble, which is now called Cotswold Airport. This is it. What a splendid place it is. It's got lots going on there. It's got a lot. They've just got a new, they've got one of the old BA retro livery 747s there. It's just been flown there. And they're soon going to have some new GPS approaches. And they're the first airport to go in for the new GPS approaches with using the latest CAP 716, is it? You were telling me about this, Ian?
CAP 1616.
Yeah.
1616. It's the new airspace change proposal mechanism. Anyway, they followed it to the T, did a very professional job, and they should be announcing their new approaches at the end of March. Of course, with everything that's going on at the moment, that might be pushed back a little bit. They've still got to do the validation flights, but good moves there. We've also heard that Zero Avia, who are the people producing a hydrogen fuel cell aircraft and have been at Cranfield up till now, we've heard that they may be moving to Kemble.
Yeah, that popped up in a video interview with Susanna Harvey this week, didn't it? So that'll be interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of because there's a drone tech company at doing some operations from there as well, aren't there? So
Well,
so lots of good stuff going on. And I see Chris Netroid, who is the ops manager at Kemble, has popped up in the comments. So hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris. When we can, we'll come and see you and talk about everything.
Yes.
Dave.
So another airport, Cardiff Airport. Not such a good story, really, this, because they've done something with their airspace when they're not manning the tower. Ian, please don't go on one of your long rants.
When we did the review of the year back on 30th of December, and you can look through YouTube and go and see it again if you really want to, I did have a bit of a long rant about Cardiff because effectively, and I'm trying to talk quickly to get the news out, Cardiff has announced various times when it's closing the airfield and closing air traffic, which, no problem. Everybody understands that they're not that busy at the moment and you don't want to pay people to sit there all night doing nothing. But the interesting thing is they've decreed in their NOTAM that their airspace is going to remain active 24 hours a day, even when they're not there. So this big, huge chunk of red airspace that you can see on the picture there is basically becomes a prohibited airspace when they're not open, which is not a hugely good thing. So I spoke to a guy called Stu Lindsay, who's the manager of airspace regulation at the CEA, and said, what's going on here? Is this right? And Stu gave me some information, very, very friendly. And he said, basically, rather than reading it all out, because that's just boring if I read it all out to you, I'm afraid, it does say that the CEA does require the designated controlling authority to service an airspace volume when they're there. There are everyone understands that the times are different at the moment. And clearly, if someone closes airspace for a controller break or something, which they can't help for half an hour, then no one's expecting any different. But it is saying that if it's closing it for hours at a time, then it really should be done. So there's all sorts of lots of good stuff. So basically, the CA's view, according to Stu Lindsay, is that airspace should be serviced. So if you cannot service it and you close, then that airspace should be downgraded to Class G. Stu helpfully gave me a URL as well, which is the first comment in the comments with this video, which basically is a URL to use if you need to report unavailability of airspace or inability to get a crossing or inability to get a service. So effectively, I know there were some other meetings going on at the CEA, and I expect to hear from those fairly soon. And hopefully that'll be good news, because I fear that there will be more than Cardiff who from time to time are closing their airspace. And I think Southampton does that from time to time. And effectively, if you can't service it, you need to downgrade it to Class G. That's my opinion. And I think that's the CEA's opinion as well. So that's Cardiff in a nutshell. It's not good at the moment, but it will be better. And I don't know if it will be better or not. Let's hope so. And if it isn't, let's find out why. But that big chunk of red airspace and closing that off to everyone when they're closed is ridiculous. Although I agree, it's kind of slightly academic at the moment, but it's the principle.
Yes. So the CAA is encouraging us pilots to grass up airports that don't look after their airspace.
I wouldn't say it was grassing up. I think the CA, in the same way that the CA are very interested in keeping the data and keeping an eye on the data for things like infringements, they want to keep an eye on the data for refusal of transit or unavailability of transit or unavailability of service, because without that, they don't know what's going on. So I think, it's relatively easy to ask and make all of the controllers issue MORs and all sorts of reports for infringements. But the GA population is wide and scattered and not a cohesive unit, and they want that data. So if you ask for a traffic service and you don't get a traffic service because of controller workload, then you should report it. If you ask for a transit and you can't get a transit of Class D airspace, you should report it. And the CA are genuinely interested in collecting that data and sent me the link to put in to share out so that people use it. And so I think we ought to encourage people to do it.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So, grass them up, guys. Moving on to the last item of news. It's German motor glider manufacturer STEM. They're working on an electric version. It's a complete reworking of the aircraft. It looks like the existing STEMI aircraft, the S10 and the S12. They have when you switch the motor off, the propeller retracts into the spinner, which is a very neat thing to do, reducing drag. Anyway, the new one looks a bit like the old ones, but it's actually completely re-engineered. But they've taken time during the pandemic to re-engineer their re-engineered project. And as well as putting an extra battery in, they've also added the option of a range extender, which is one of the Diamond Ostro rotary engines stuffed in the back. So this is basically like a hybrid car. So if you start to run low on electricity, the avgas burning engine starts up. It is a rotary. It is quite small and compact, and so rotary means it doesn't vibrate very much. It's very smooth. You may not even notice it starting.
Nice thing about that is you can run it at 1 RPM. It's most efficient all the time, and it's just generating power. So I think it's probably the same tech that do you remember Diamond had a hybrid demonstrator? It was like 2 electric motors on the nose of a DA40 that flew, probably 18 months ago. So it's probably similar tech to that, but well done, Stemmer.
Yes.
But they're beautiful. I have to say, Stemmer aircraft are absolutely beautiful when you see them, and they've got some ridiculously impressive glide ratios, but they are fearsomely expensive as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
There you go.
There we go. Is it time for the news?
Is it time for the news?
The weather.
The weather follows the news all the time, doesn't it?
Time for the weather. So there you go. That's the news, I believe. Simon couldn't join us.
I was going to say, deploy the weather girl.
Deploy the weather girl. Unfortunately, Simon couldn't join us today, but he did go out and record a video and sent it to us, and there is a weather quiz in there. So let's go, Simon. I think in TV they'd say roll VT or something like that, wouldn't they? But here I'm just going to press.
Well, hi everyone, and a very happy new year to you. I'm out here at Hackney Green. Don't worry, I'm not breaking any guidelines. I've come out here on business. But that's the reason why I'm not with you live tonight. Now, before we get into the forecast, what about a bit of a weather quiz to kick off the new year? You can see that here at the moment, it's pretty foggy. We've got freezing fog. Visibility is around about 150, 200 metres at the moment. So what I want to know from you tonight is, what's the definition of freezing fog as far as aviation is concerned? Is it when fog occurs with the temperatures below 2 degrees? Is it when fog occurs with the temperature below freezing and is depositing rime or hoarfrost? Or is it when fog occurs with the temperature below 0 degrees? So there are your options. I'll give you the length of the forecast to consider those options. Now, I know that many of you aren't going to be flying, but still useful to keep in tune with the weather just to see what's going on, because when it comes to getting back to flying again, if we see similar charts, we see a similar pressure pattern, then we'll know what we're looking for. So this is the forecast then for Saturday. Ridge of high pressure is across Ireland and across many parts of England and Wales on Saturday. You notice there are not many isobars. So again, I think we're going to have a problem with some fog in places Saturday morning. That's going to be clearing away, and then I think it probably does become largely flyable through Saturday, although always some fog patches left across England and Wales. That warm front you can see over Scotland, that's going to clear eastwards, but what that does is it introduces more moist air. Now that's going to bring low cloud and drizzle across northern and western coasts of Scotland. As we get in towards Sunday, that ridge of high pressure is still there. So a similar problem on Sunday. I think that we're going to be seeing some mist and fog patches Sunday morning for England and Wales. Not as many, I don't think, as Saturday. The reason for that is the air is more moist, and that means that we have got the possibility of some lower cloud, particularly across western coasts and hills. If it does lift, then I think we're going to be flyable across England and Wales, bases around 2,000 feet. Visibility, though, could be reduced. Best of the conditions always off towards the east. Lower cloud and some drizzle affecting northern and western parts of Scotland. So I think the weekend generally, well, if you could get some local flying in, it would probably be okay. But considering most of us can't, it's probably a weekend to be building up some brownie points. Okay then, what about that quiz? Did you get it right? Yep, the definition of freezing fog as far as aviation is concerned is temperatures below zero and fog occurring. So no mention of it depositing rime or hoarfrost. It's just that the temperature needs to be below freezing, and also visibility needs to be below 1,000 metres. Okay, I will leave you with that for now. Have a great weekend, won't you? Whatever you're doing. Don't forget to continue learning weather. And if you want to learn more, then come along to my Aviation Weather School. I've got a couple of places left on the mornings of the 6th and 13th of February on Aviation Weather School Part 1. So go and have a look at weatherschool.co.uk, and you can find out more and book your place there. Okay, well, have a great evening. If you are flying, you jammy so-and-sos. But if not, sit back, put your feet up, and why not learn a bit of weather? Okay, chaps, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
There's always someone who starts an engine, isn't there? Right when you're trying.
Before we head off into the fantasy hangar, I took the opportunity while Simon was talking to have a quick look through the comments. Just a couple of quick answers. Two Donkeys, or somebody, I think it was Two Donkeys, asked whether Cywell was actually the first with an RNAV approach. I think Cywell was, but to be pedantic about it, Cotswold was the first one to get it under the new CAP 1616 process. Jonathan Holland said, "Isn't that all danger areas in Cardiff anyway?" But no, it's not. I might have made it look like a danger area by colouring the red just to show, but it's kind of that big area up there. It isn't a danger area. And I think that was the other. There was another question which I can't unfortunately now remember, or did I write down the answer for? Anyway, time to move on. Sorry, time to move on to. And there was a sweepstake going about whether I'd swear tonight, which clearly I'm not going to. I don't normally swear much.
Good. Fancy hangar.
Fantasy hangar, yep. Yeah. So, our guest, Chris, introduce it, Ed. Take us away. Yeah.
So, obviously, because it's so cold, you know, what better thing to pick tonight than your own biplane? So, Fancy Hangar is all about picking the, you know, the best and loveliest things to go in your dream hangar. So this week we decided we'd go looking at biplanes. So we've got 4 choices of everyone, including our guest Chris. And I think we're starting off with Chris's choice.
We are indeed, Chris.
Yeah, we are. And for me, it was dead easy. And you've picked exactly the right colour as well. A beach staggerwing in yellow. Would have to be in yellow. But just a gorgeous aeroplane, apart from the bit that they left to the apprentice at the back, designing the fin and rudder. Yeah.
Completely agree with you. That is a beautiful, beautiful aeroplane right until you get to the back. And then someone just put that on there as a joke, didn't they? But
Staggerwing is lovely. I sometimes wonder whether a true biplane in a fancy collection should be something open cockpit, but maybe people will agree with you, Chris, and go for the enclosed cabin biplane.
Well, that's just because I'm living in the frozen north, you see.
Okay, very sensible. Yes.
Yeah, I think true biplane. The clue is in the word biplane. I think it needs like.
Yeah, but people just you say biplane, people think tandem, tandem seating, open cockpit. But anyway, let's see.
They need to be more accurate with their naming, don't they? Then
that's it. Case. Yeah. So and obviously, chuck your comments for favourite biplane in the comments. We've already had a couple. We'll go through some of those at the end. Ian, what's your favourite biplane? What would be in your fantasy hangar?
Well, it would probably be one of these. Now, I kind of know it's big. I know it's slow. I know it burns tons of fuel. I know it burns even more oil. But I've got a kind of fond liking for that particular one there. This one, Hotel Alpha Mike Kilo Echo.
Yeah.
Gazillion years ago, when I was a little baby pilot, there was a guy called James Black who used to operate out of White Waltham, and he was kind of big in the kind of Antonov area. Me, James, and an engineer went over to Hungary and picked up that very airplane just as it had come out of a sort of refurbishment place, and then flew it back to White Waltham, stopping in Budapest and somewhere else I can't remember in Germany. And it was an absolutely fantastic thing. It was kind of
Did that take about a year to do that ferry?
It took about 6 weeks. I think it took us 2 or 3 days, but it was amazing. It's like it's got an ADF in it, and it's the size of a saucer. It's kind of and it was just a kind of really characterful airplane. The control wires were exposed at the back, so if you're a bit bored and you wanted to wake up the pilot, you could grab one and yank it and surprise people. It was just, it's characterful, isn't it? Basically, yeah. But I there are plenty of other biplanes I would have, but I just thought that one would be a bit different.
It's good, and probably I think the largest thing you can fly on a regular PPL, isn't it?
It used to be. I don't know, I'm not sure where the definite. Yeah,
5,700 kilos. So
since they went to N complex and non-complex and stuff, I'm not sure if that changed or not. Someone else. I did know the answer to that, but like many things, I knew the answer for about 40 seconds, and then it drops out.
There we go. Dave, what was your pick? What was your choice?
Well, I was torn actually, because the one I would really have if I wanted to fly every day or occasionally would be a Stearman, because they're so tough that even I couldn't break them. But however, I've chosen the Vickers Vimy simply because I've got a bit of an association with this. This is actually the replica. You remember Peter Macmillan built a replica, probably the world's largest kit plane ever. And he built it, well, he didn't build it, a chap called John Lanou built it. But Peter Macmillan was the driving force behind it. And they reenacted the famous flights of the Vimy, including Alcock and Brown's flight from the US to, crash landing and got in a bog in Ireland. And they flew from London to Cape Town and did the London to UK to Australia trip as well. They've done some, my association was only very small. I produced their website for them back in about the early 2000s. But I remember talking to the guys. They were so dedicated. They were the guy John Lanou who built it, knew every inch of the aircraft, and the chap who flew it most of the time was called Mark Rebholz. He was a Delta commercial pilot, but this was his. He liked flying vintage aircraft. And I was talking to him about flying it. And apparently the biggest job is actually managing all the fuel tanks. You can imagine with those two huge engines and immense amounts of drag, it burnt huge amounts of fuel, which they had to store around the aeroplane and then keep it all balanced. So he had the panel inside this open cockpit. It was open cockpit. So he had this panel with all these valves and things he had to turn to try and keep it balanced. Anyway, that particular replica is now sitting at Brooklands Museum in a special display all of its own. It's been given to the museum as a project by Peter Macmillan.
I think it was the last aeroplane to fly into Brooklands, wasn't it?
It could have been. I thought it was taken there by truck, but
I'm not sure. I thought they flew.
No, I think it was.
I might be
It was
wrong.
flown to Dunsfold, and then it was taken by truck to Brooklands.
Yeah. Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool.
W
that's-
engine.
Yes, yeah, they were BMW engines with big gearboxes, weren't they? But that's a fantastic choice. That's a biplane that you need a team to go flying with.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
Ed, given that Vans doesn't make a biplane, how are you going to pick one?
You jest. Well, I've always, I think as biplanes go, it popped up in an editorial a while ago, and I do quite like the Waco taper wing, but actually, if I really had to have a biplane, then I would have this particular Waco, which is the Waco QCF2. It's from 1930. It's got a fantastic Continental A70 radial, 165 horsepower. Low for long at 90 knots. You can put two people in the front, and you've just got beautiful. It's just, I think that this kind of aeroplane represents everything you think about when you think of a biplane. Beautiful speed ring cowl. I think I would definitely love something. I would love that kind of biplane in my fancy hangar. So, in an interesting note, in this where when Waco salesman was selling that biplane, in the brochure they gave to the salesman, it said that the company instructed them to be respectful of their customers, noting that if their customers, noting that if a man and their customers in 1930 were almost all men, can afford a Waco, he is a man of consequence.
Wow.
So, I know. If you want to buy one of the QCFs now today, they're rare. I found a couple online for $195,000 and $210,000.
You still have to be a man of some consequence.
You still need still to be a man or person of consequence. So, what have we got in the comments? So, a bunch of suggestions. Stagger Wing gets a whole bunch of mentions. Travel Air 4000. Carol De Sola says she's flown in that particular Stagger Wing, and that the fuel tanks, it's got a number of tanks, and they're all quite complex. So, N101 Delta Whiskey says Stearman. Melanie Moxon says Waco YMF5. You can buy that one new. Ben Chapman says Rapide. Ben Chapman also says 2 mosquitoes glued together. That's a bit mad, Ben.
Yeah.
Kristen Eagle pops up a couple of times. Nick Allen says Jungmeister. I love a Jungmeister. I think I picked that as my favorite as the fantasy aerobatic aeroplane. Otherwise, I would have picked it again. Good choice. Your AN2 Ian gets a few votes. Paul Cadell says, I'm with Nick, Jungmeister. Steve Clack says, Pitts Model 12. Hard to pick up. Oh, Darren Lewington says, Swordfish. There's something else. You can take a team of people flying. Rob Hall says, Gloucester Gladiator. Oh, Carol De Sola might have the absolute winning one. How about the HP-42? Which, if you need to remember your airliner history, that was the HP-42 was a giant biplane run by Imperial Airways, which had 4 Bristol Pegasus engines, and I think there was probably a dozen or so built, and they ran all sorts of services into the colonies. So I can see Ian has gone off to.
He's researching.
He's researching.
Wasn't the HB-42 about the same time as Douglas were tinkering about with the DC-1 and 2?
Probably, yeah.
Which gives you some idea of the kind of difference of view and technology across the Atlantic at that moment for airliners.
That's it, yeah.
It's a ridiculous looking airplane, but
That's quite a good biplane choice, though. It reminds me that the giant-sized biplane. Someone suggested Rapide. Suggests me the big 4-engined version of the Rapide. That would be a good fancy hangar airplane.
Is that the Rapider?
Yeah, you would think. I think it. What was it? I think it was. Yeah, I can't remember. Was it called the Express? I can't remember. Someone will tell us. But anyway, good choice of fancy hangar. I suspect Chris's selection of the Stagger Wing is a popular choice.
I think I have to say, although I did go for the AN2, looking at them here, I would probably realistically go for the Stagger Wing. I think the Stagger Wing is you can use. It's kind of like a Cirrus of its day as well, isn't it? It's a great fast performance.
It's a really usable aeroplane.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the AN2 is just It's just
Lovely.
a beast that
Yeah.
goes slow.
Clearer Cloud suggests looking up the Aviatka MAI 890, and he's insistent. So I feel so that's AVIA TIKA MAI 890.
Say again, AVIA.
AVIA TIKA, new word MAI, and then the number 890. Of course, like telling your gran your Wi-Fi password, isn't it?
You must be joking. Clear Cloud, what are you on?
I wait with bated breath because even I'm not. Oh, that's quite funky, isn't it? That's brilliant. It's like microlight biplane. If you're going microlight biplane, surely the fantastic British Tiger Cub, which if ever a simple aeroplane looked at you as if to go, "I will kill you,"
or even but better than that, surely you got to give Paul Henry Smith and everybody before him the Sherwood Ranger the credit if you're going for a British microlight biplane.
Ah, yes, the modern day microlight.
A descendant of the Cub.
Yeah.
What's the
Anyway,
name of the Sherwood Ranger?
Yeah, some great suggestions there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
moving on. But well done, Chris. I think you're the winner there, not just
we'll call you the winner.
Thank you very much. Although I think I might just have edged it, not by a long way.
I think you did it by miles.
There are a lot of votes. There are a lot of votes for various Booker products in there.
That's it.
Young ones.
So events. First event that we know of that might be taking place this year, Dave?
Well, it might be. Obviously, lockdown is dependent, but Vintage Saturday at good old Compton Abbas. That's the first one on 6th of March. Maybe a bit tight. May happen. But Chris, you have an event to announce, which
yes, we do. Yeah, actually, almost the world announcement, but not quite because it was in the LAA magazine as well. Because we're doing the Vale of York strut of the LAA is doing a fly-in at Ruffeth East Airfield near York, weekend of the 31st of July and the 1st of August. So if anybody knows their dates, the 1st of August is actually Yorkshire Day, so you can guess that that's going to be part of what we'll be celebrating. But the fact that Ruffeth East has got a big collection of microlights, a very big hangar full of gyrocopters, actually, with the gyrocopter experience who are based on the airfield, and a load of LAA type aircraft. And then just across the boundary fence at Ruffeth West, we've got the York Gliding Centre. The aim of the whole event is to sort of theme it "We All Fly" and get everybody involved and really celebrate sport aviation and have a little event in the north. And having picked that far down the year, we're hoping, fingers crossed, that there'll be enough freedom and ability to move around to actually make it happen.
I think you might be perfectly timed there.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping so.
So what, if it's a 2-day event, is there going to be stuff going on in the evening? Or
yeah, the plan is to have some entertainment, which we're not quite sure what, but there'll be some entertainment overnight, and there'll be food available and what have you, all to fit with whatever the socially distant requirements are at that time of when we get there. But yeah, that's the intent of it. And I've just seen Jonathan Holland's comment come up, and no, there won't be any landing fees. I think actually, but there might be some collection boxes around for one of the local charities.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, I think if we can fly then and everything else, I wouldn't mind. I fancy quite popping up to that. Bring the old give the old mate to an outing. Try and put some time on it this year.
Yeah, we haven't run one for a while. I think the last flying was done a few years ago. Well, this strut was at Full Sutton, and but most of us have gravitated towards Ruffeth or Breeton, and Breeton's got a very full calendar this year if it all happens. So the airfield owner at Ruffeth East was very keen to do something, so we said, yeah, let's crack on and do it. And of course, if anybody comes up with family who get bored of whatever we've got going, and we're hoping that we're going to get the BMA along with their microlight simulator and with a bit of the BGA gliding simulator and lots to do. But if there are family who aren't interested, York's only a mile or two down the road. So there's all the various other things that people can go and do in York as well if they're non-aviation.
Excellent. Yeah. Looks like there's people already planning it into their diary.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Have we got anything else in terms of events?
Well, we could mention Aero Friedrichshafen, but it's nominally being held from the 21st to the 24th of April, a bit later than normal to avoid clashing with Sun and Fun. But I'm not sure anybody really wants to go to an international event in a closed hall at the moment, even in April. So we'll see if that's still going to take place. I hope so, because it's a great event.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that we'll be going this year.
No.
Wait and see.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. This is the time for me to do some begging, or not some begging. What am I talking about? So do some promotion, of course. So given that we're all on lockdown, the weather's a bit pants, and can't go flying. If you're not a member of the Flying Club, I suggest you join the Flyer Club, because one of the benefits, apart from being able to read all of the back issues, you can download yourself a digital copy of A View from the Hover. Absolutely fantastic book by Flyer columnist John Farley, rest in peace. So get yourself that book, have a good read, and use your time carefully during this lockdown. It's fantastic. And what else is there? Yes, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like, please subscribe, please click the bell, all that usual stuff. And don't forget, join the Flyer Club and persuade your friends to join the Flyer Club. What else is there? Just leaves me to thank everyone. Thank Chris for donating to Airability and winning the auction for your place on the live stream. I hope you've enjoyed the half hour.
Yeah, the half hour ish.
Half hour ish. Yeah, I hope you didn't have anything in the microwave.
No, not at all. Beforehand.
Thank you very much, Dave. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week for the next live stream. Hopefully with a bit of a surprise, but we haven't figured that one out yet. So maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, I'll do it, Christian Drees. Yes, next week we'll be flying. Anyway, thanks very much, everyone. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone. Cheers.